All right, thank you all for being here. We're just at the top of the hour, so we can begin to get started now. Welcome to Favorite Foods Made Healthy, another Eat Well webinar, a webinar from WorkWell NYC as part of the Eat Well initiative. I imagine that we may have people continuing to join, but just wanted to let you guys know that you're entering in listen-only mode, so please do put questions, any questions that might come up in the chat, and we'll move forward. So this is Afia Bediako. I'm with WorkWell NYC, and I'm joined on the line with Tasha Gibbons of Gibbons Family Fitness.
Hello.
Tasha Gibbons has been in the field of health and wellness for over 10 years, serving individuals, businesses, schools, and communities as a group fitness instructor, nutritional advisor, and healthy cooking coach. She will be offering the webinar today. But I will give you a little bit of an introduction, a little bit more of an introduction about WorkWell NYC for those of you who are on, who might have some basic knowledge of WorkWell, but just reiterating and letting you guys know what's happening now. So WorkWell NYC is the city's employee wellness initiative. The mission, WorkWell NYC seeks to create workplaces that help our employees live healthy, active lifestyles and to provide health and well-being services, programs, and resources at the worksite and beyond. Our programming falls into 4 main areas: the Move More area, which is physical activity. There are loads of ways to get involved, even at this time now, including virtual fitness classes, the United We Move Challenge, and you can definitely stay in touch and learn more about the opportunities within that area. Our Be Well, Thrive NYC area is all about mental health, well-being, and resiliency. And there are also programs that you can participate in that area, including meditation classes, gratitude challenges, and the like. Take Action is all about preventative health care, and that's an important area still. And the Eat Well area is where this presentation actually falls, and that's all about healthy eating. At this time, WorkWell has moved remotely for the most part, and there are digital opportunities for you to take advantage of, including fitness classes, meditation, etc. So please visit on.nyc.gov/wellnessanywhere to find out more information about these remote opportunities. So just giving you a heads up about what we'll be discussing today: a review of the basics of healthy eating, discussing substitutions and strategies for making your favorite meals healthier, and answering your questions about all of these things. So before we dig into the presentation, I'll give an opportunity for you to give us some feedback about the kinds of things you're craving these days. So there are 5 options, and I'll make the poll live for you now, and you can tell us what comfort foods you're craving these days. It's looking like, I can share the results, crispy, crunchy foods are looking like the most common, followed by sweet foods. So thank you for enrolling there and participating, and I will pass it over to Tasha, who will discuss more on all those items.
Okay, I would have been right in there with you. I'm a crunchy girl myself, so I would have been right there with you. So eating in the time of COVID-19 is affecting our mobility and our access to food. But we can see this challenge as an opportunity to be more deliberate in our food choices, establish new healthy eating habits for ourselves and for our families, and we can also be creative with our meals. So here's the big topic: what makes a healthy food? So if you see the plate right here, this is a healthy eating plate. You see that the majority of the plate is vegetables. The more vegetables that you can get in, the better. You want to aim to fill half your plate with fruits and veggies at every meal. Also, when it comes to oils, we want to use the healthiest oils that we can. So you want to look into using like your olive oils and things like that, because we're trying to avoid trans fats. Okay, for your fruits, you want to eat all different colors, all types. For your protein, choosing fish and poultry and beans and getting out the processed foods like your bacon and cold cuts. And then your water. Water, you want to drink as much water as you can. You want to limit your dairy down. And then also for your whole grains, you want to have your whole wheat bread, your whole grain pasta, your brown rice. This is what actually eating a healthy plate looks like, and you're going to hear more about this. So these are some of the things that'll get you started. And then, of course, our little person on the bottom, staying active. Very important. So sometimes the things that gets us into trouble, sometimes it's not always what we're eating, but it's how much of it we're eating. So you want to keep these serving sizes in mind when you're eating certain things. So you have your cup size, which is just like your fist, then a half a cup. So this will require you reading the serving size. So when you read the serving size and it says a cup or a half a cup, now you have a visual to kind of put with it to say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, and then you have your 3 ounces, which is just the palm of your hand. Then you have a tablespoon, which is just your thumb. And I know they have cheese on that list. I know that doesn't happen for most of us, but that's what it's supposed to be. Then also 6 inches, and that's like your pizza and your burgers and stuff like that. So just keep those portion sizes in mind when you are eating. Now, processed foods. Processed foods are foods that have been mechanically or chemically changed. Examples of those are hot dogs, lunch meat, chicken nuggets, crackers, mozzarella sticks. So that's when they take all different things and put them together to make something. That's a processed food. Processed foods also tend to contain a lot of sugar, salt, and fat, which are harmful to our bodies in excess. And this is why processed foods can last so long, because they have to put preservatives in there for them to last this long, right? So how do we combat that? When we eat food that is closer to its purest form, we receive more nutrients to nourish our body. So strategies for preparing food at home. So for preparing your meals at home, the easiest way to make your favorite meals healthier is to change the way that you prepare them. So we want to limit deep frying. You can use an air fryer instead, or you can do like a light saute. That actually helps to give you a little bit of crunch to it as well. And healthier ways to make your food at home, you can bake, which is in the oven or toaster oven. You can broil in the oven or toaster oven, which will also give you that crunch. You can steam in a pot or a double boiler, and a double boiler is just when you have the one pot on the bottom, the other one on the top that has holes in it, and then the steam from the boiling water cooks whatever food you have on that top, excuse me, in that top, excuse me, in the top portion. Then you can also grill outdoors or indoors. And as I just described, boiling is when it's just if you're just boiling something, it's just in bubbling hot water. Additional strategies. You can change the version of the foods you eat. You can add in fruits or vegetables. You can cut back on foods high in cheese. Limit commercially processed foods. Choose drinks low in sugar or with no added sugar. And of course, again, drink more water. All right, so here we go. Making your favorite foods healthier. First, burgers and fries. Okay, so for burgers, instead of using the beef, which is a little more fatty, you can use ground turkey, ground chicken, or you can use a veggie patty. One other thing that you can do that I thought of also, and that I've done, is you can take some lettuce and wrap the burger in lettuce instead of the bun, and that will save you some calories, okay? French fries, you want to use real potatoes and bake them in the oven. Mac and cheese. Okay, try to use less cheese, use low-fat cheese. You can use whole grain pasta, and then sometimes you can add vegetables to it. Okay, I know, but you know, we're trying to get our veggies in too, right? Because remember, half of our plate is supposed to be fruits and veggies. Potato chips. Now, I'm just gonna raise my hand here because this is where I get caught up in the potato chips because I love a good crunch. So look for the baked versions of your favorite chips. The other thing is try tortilla chips, which I use a lot. Tortilla chips, and add some fresh salsa or some salsa. That way I'm getting in vegetables too, so I don't feel as bad when I'm having it. And then you can make your own chips at home. You can do it with potatoes or other vegetables like carrots, beets, or kale. They have like those slicer things that you can slice them really thin, and then you can satisfy yourself also like that. Fried chicken. I know, it's a lot of our favorites. So in order to make fried chicken, but do it in the oven, what you're going to do is you're going to prepare your chicken and season it, do everything. Then you're going to create an egg wash. So an egg wash is just an egg, and you can use milk, or you could just use a little bit of water because you just want it tacky so that it can take the breadcrumbs. So then you're going to dredge it in the breadcrumbs, and then you put it on a baking sheet at 400 degrees, 20 minutes on each side, and it's done, and it's delicious. Or you could also use an air fryer. Pizza. So we have had quite a few pizzas since we have been quarantined. So you want to make it at home. You can easily buy the dough that it's already made, and you can roll it out at home. You can add sauce, tomatoes, a lower fat cheese, and you can use a baking tray or a pizza pan, whichever you have. If you don't have a roller and you don't want to roll it out, you can literally spread the dough out with your hands until it covers your tray, and you'll be fine. The way that this is healthier is because you're controlling the ingredients. That if you I want you to remember that out of anything, because in making your food healthier, when you control the ingredients, that is key. That's number one, because you don't know what you're getting in anything else. Also, this is a great thing to do with kids. My son loves making a pizza. He loves putting all types of things, and so it's a great thing to do with them, and then you can let them choose the topping. Rice. Okay, you can use brown rice. I get a lot of complaints. They're like, oh, that it's hard, it's this. But with brown rice, the key to doing it is make it with vegetable broth. You have to make it, when you make it with plain water, yeah. You want to make it with vegetable broth, you want to put seasonings, you want to put herbs, and you let it boil, right? And then you turn it down, put the top on, and you let it simmer and cook down. You may have to add a little bit more water a little bit later on, but that is how you make brown rice, and it comes out nice and flaky, just like white rice, okay? And then also cauliflower rice. I am a big fan, big fan of cauliflower rice. It gives you can just have like a whole bowl of vegetables, because I take it usually and I add other vegetables in there, and I kind of stir fry it, and it's very good. And some of the other options, you can have whole grain options like couscous or quinoa, and they have more fiber and protein, and that's what's going to help you stay fuller for a longer period of time.
Tarsha, I just wanted to ask, we had a comment from Janice who mentioned another alternative with the pizza is working with pita. So instead of making your own pizza dough, you can get a pre-made pita, a whole grain pita, and that might save a step to do your own pizza at home. Thank you for giving that comment, Janice.
Sure, if you can find it, yeah, whatever you can do to make the steps easier for yourself, yes, go for it. Okay, pasta. I love pasta. Okay, so use whole grain pasta, or you can use bean pasta. They make pasta in so many different variations. that you can actually find a healthier option. Using zucchini noodles, I use those to make my pasta. The only thing with those is you have to saute it really quickly or it'll become a mushy mess if you try to keep it on the heat for too long. And you can also use spaghetti squash. You bake that in the oven and then you rake it out and it comes out in like a pasta-like texture. You can also make your own sauce with just tomatoes and tomato sauce and herbs and seasonings and simmer it down. The key to this is going to be eating the serving size. Eating the serving size of pasta is the thing that's going to make it healthier for you and save you the added calories. You also want to limit the added cheese. I know we like our cheese on top of our things. And then also, if you choose a lighter sauce, like don't choose a sauce that's so heavy that you just want to sit in the recliner after it's over with. If you choose a lighter sauce, it'll be more satisfying. Sweets, your juice and your candy. Okay, so you want to choose whole fruit over juice, okay? Because most of the time we just want something sweet. So if you eat some fruit, that may help you right away. Or you can make your own fresh squeezed juice at home if you have a juicer, or if you have like a really, really high-powered blender, that may help you as well. Excuse me. You can add fruit to water and then let it sit overnight. When you let it sit overnight, it really infuses the flavor in there. And then you can swap out dry fruit for candy. There are a lot of varieties and different textures. And a lot of times that will kill that craving. Sweets still, cakes, cookies, and cupcakes. I'm more of a cupcake. Ooh. Yes, I am more of a cupcake girl. So what I do to try to justify the fact that I'm having this is I add and I replace ingredients. The number one thing that I do is I use less sugar than the recipe calls for. Okay, just to make it less sweet and a little bit healthier. And then you want to look for recipes that have pure ingredients. And a lot of those times you're going to have to find those in recipes that like you're making yourself. Then you want to make small batches. Make enough for one serving per person. Because when we over make things, then we have to eat them. So the other thing is, if you get to incorporate fruit, or try having a piece of fruit first to see if that satisfies your craving for something sweet. But if you can incorporate fruit into your dessert, that makes it even better as well. Ice cream. All right. Talenti and Haagen-Dazs. That's where we are. That's where I stay. Talenti and Haagen-Dazs. But what you want to do is you want to choose some that has simple ingredients, buy the small cup, or look on the back and see what the serving size is. Remember, we saw what the serving sizes were a little bit earlier in the presentation, and only eat the serving size. If you can only eat the serving size, you'll feel fine. You'll feel like I just had a snack and then that was it. Okay, you won't feel like you had made a meal out of ice cream. Okay, then you can also make like decadent chocolate smoothies, and just like with some cocoa powder, and that's very satisfying. Or you can blend frozen bananas. You do it very slowly. So, not like just turn the blender on high speed. If it has a pulse option, just do it really slowly with your choice of milk, and then it comes out like a soft serve. And then you can add nuts or fruit or a little bit of caramel. Sweetened drinks. Okay, so to replace our soda and all those other things, try drinking seltzer water. Because a lot of times we just want that fizzly, bubbly taste. So seltzer water is a good option. You can choose unsweetened or lightly sweetened teas. Chilling flavored herbal teas. That's become like a new thing for me, and it really, really works. You really feel like you're having something special. You can also use stevia as a natural sweetener. Some other sweeteners that you can use, like they have coconut sugar, date sugar, or dates. You can use all different types of things to sweeten it, but you have to find out what, you know, what works for you. Okay, you want to drink your water again with fruit or lemon infused, or you can drink freshly squeezed juice. Okay, so how you want to make this change and you're trying to get everybody on board. What you do is you don't tell them. If you are the cooker in the house, don't tell them anything. Don't announce the change. You know, sometimes you want to tell, oh, so I'm going to do this. Don't do that. Don't do it. You prepare the meal and then you wait for the reaction. Okay, if there's no feedback, continue with the healthier version. I have done this quite a few times, and then when they do see making it, oh, I'm like, please, you've been eating this for like the last 3 months, so this is how we're going to keep making it. But if your family does have feedback, then try to incorporate it into the future meals, because they know what they like. So if they have feedback and they say, oh, well, I didn't like this part, or I wish it was this, then incorporate it into the future meals. And then it's like, you know, you all did it together, but came up with a healthier version of something that you all like and you could eat. So if you need more ideas, you have crowdsource. You can ask friends and family. Work Well NYC, Eat Well Slack page. You can use the internet. We have 2 websites. Well, we don't have them, but there are 2 websites that are easy, fun, and creative. All recipes I really like because it's very interactive and it's practical to use. Also, the Minimalist Baker. It has a lot of help. It has lots of healthy eating options that require 10 ingredients or less, and they also only take 30 minutes or less to prepare. So additional resources for healthy recipes is eatright.org/food, recipes.heart.org, jsyfruitveggies.org/recipes, and also choosemyplate.gov/myplatekitchen.
Thanks so much, Tarsha. I want to just give a few resources and speak to the fact that we understand that in this unique time, many of us are working on how to eat more healthfully, and another reality is that some people are still working to make sure that they have enough food. So there are various resources available for any folks who find that this time has affected their ability to access food. So we encourage you to reach out to nyc.gov/getfood or call 311 for more information about the city's DOE free meals that are available, two meals a day, I believe, at locations throughout the city. So you can visit the webpage or call the number for more information, find out the locations near you. Also, in a crunch, if people have financial resources that have been changed and need to access benefits like SNAP or other benefits to support themselves to get food, you can get that information there. And lastly, if people are not able to actually get out to get food, there are resources available for home delivery and the like. So please visit that page for more information. We also want to say that the nyc.gov/coronavirus page is really a great place to find up-to-date information about the current realities and getting more info on the city's response to all things coronavirus related, food and otherwise. So at this time, it would be great if you could put your questions in the chat box, and there are already a few that have come in, but we want to let you know that we'll move on to answering questions. We had a few raised hands as well that we weren't able to respond to, so I encourage you to type any questions you have in the chat box there, and I'll start to share some of them with you, Tarsha, and you can respond. So One of the questions we got is about recommendations for making some of these healthy items at home. So what was asked specifically is pita bread, pasta, tortillas, how we do them at home.
Okay, so for the meaning to make the pita bread yourself?
I'm not sure, but we can speak about those things. You know, potentially crafting your own tortilla chips from a pita, maybe, or making the dough from scratch, or or specifically we can ask about what to do with those things. Maybe I know we had a pita pizza mentioned, and you mentioned tortilla chips with salsa. So speak to as much as you can about that.
Okay, so for the pita, you can actually make them into sort of like chips. So you can take it and you can kind of flatten it, and then you can cut it like into triangles and put a little bit of like olive oil on it and put it in the oven for a little bit of time. I think maybe like 7 or 8 minutes at the most, but monitor it because everybody's oven is different. And then they'll come out crispy, like sort of like chips. And then you can use those with dips, like if you had hummus on hand, and you can take your hummus and add some things to it. Like you can add a little bit of garlic to it, a little bit of crushed peppers, whatever your taste is, you can take it and make it what you would like.
So that's just reiterating that point of making at home, because you can add as much olive oil as you want, as opposed to buying a store-bought version that might have been deep fried in a different kind of oil or something
Yes,
like that. So
that's
also
absolutely true.
reiterating and just sort of saying, I'm in agreement. We had a comment about not telling family ahead of time. And, you know, folks have said in their experience that works, in addition to changing out chicken and turkey for beef. And that's something that has been done and worked in one comment that we got. So yeah, trying a new way and hoping that it works, and enrolling the family if need be. But sometimes folks have had success if to change it, and it can continue to work. So thanks for that comment, Jessica, I believe. So another question about making chicken soup. I'm sorry, this might not be a question, just a comment about making chicken soup and smashing veggies so kids don't even know they're there. So just a reiteration of, yes, do it at home, and it works. And I hope, Kiana, we got the question answered about pita, pasta, and tortilla chips. The question was about making from home, but if there's any other clarification, let us know. Just a feedback for you, Tarsha, about your sense of humor and making this fun. So kudos.
Oh, thank you.
Another question about washing greens. So I know, Tarsha, you mentioned that we want to make sure that veggies are a big part of what are eaten. So if you have any tips about salad greens and making sure they're clean.
Yeah, so your salad greens, to make sure that they're clean, what you want to do is you just want to rinse them under like lukewarm or cold water. You want to rinse them, but very quickly. You don't want them like sitting in the water. You just want to rinse them really quickly and kind of rub them with your hands, and then transfer them over to the side, and then pat them down with paper towel. So you pat them down, or if you have a salad spinner, I used to have one, but I don't anymore. You can put it in there and you like press the thing down and it takes all the water out of it. So those are a couple of options that you can use, or you can buy the salad that's already been washed.
Great. I understand that getting the water removed helps them last a little longer, so the salad spinner can work in that way.
Yeah.
Personally, I've put a paper towel around, and that helps to keep them a little moist, but not too moist that they wilt. So I'll share that as well. I'm not sure if the comment was, or the question was speaking to the current realities in food safety and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to also direct people to the CDC's page. Center for Disease Control offers information about how to stay sort of food safe given the current realities. And according to the current research, there isn't any evidence that food or food packaging has been linked to getting sick from COVID-19. But people do have extra level of caution. So what you just offered as far as cleaning greens still applies. All the food safety suggestions that our authorities have given us still apply. Refrigerating, rinsing things that need to be rinsed, and that kind of thing. And there wasn't any new advice, particularly around cleaning food or veggies even at this time. Some more comments we're getting, I'll share with folks. Kellogg Flakes and Cool Whip as a quick dessert that is sort of homemade and pretty quick probably. Another comment, just adding chopped veggies or tofu to things like lasagna or mac and cheese. to reduce the amount of pasta, reduce the amount of cheese, but also add some new options in. So just reiterating some of the points that were shared as well there.
Awesome.
So please do put your questions in the chat box so we can address them. And I just see another comment that's come in about making individual pizzas with pita or cut tortillas, and the individual probably speaks to that point of having just as much as you need, but not more than that. Tarsha, are there any tips that you could give about your favorite healthy foods? We talked a lot about maybe our favorite foods and how we make them more healthy, but just generally, you know, if there are things that are go-tos for you. You spoke about the crunch being a value. Let us know about your favorite healthy foods.
Okay, so what I can tell you is that I love French fries. Like, I just love them. So I do make my French fries inside the oven. So when you sprinkle them with a little bit of olive oil, then it creates the crunch. So 20 minutes in there and you'll still get the crunch, but you know it's healthy and you know it was an actual potato and not potato flakes. So that's a big one for me, is my French fries. Another one is, well, for my son, not, I wouldn't say probably so much for me, but my son loves chicken tenders. So I take them, I get the chicken breasts. Well, you know, they make the breast, but they make them in like the tenders, and I season them up, and I do, like I said before, with the egg wash and the breadcrumbs, and I put them in the oven, and I make them like that, and that way I know it's 100% chicken that he's eating, not with the fillers and all those extra ingredients, and it just works. It just works wonders. It's just, if you just take your favorite food and just begin to think about, how can I make this in a different way, just to make this a little more healthy for me, you would be amazed at how many of the different options you can come up with. I'll give you one quick thing. Today, my son wanted to make French toast, so I'm like, okay, you make French toast, go ahead. So he looked it up on YouTube and did it and all this stuff. So he did that, but then he's like, oh, I want to have a burger later. And I said, well, that's a lot of bread for today. So how else do you think you could do that? So he goes, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll just chop it up and I'll add a little bit of cheese and just add a little bit of ketchup, and then I can just eat it like that, and then that'll just reduce the amount of bread. So I was like, that's a good choice. So just you know, thinking of different ways you can still have your things, but just making it, you know, more pleasing and more healthier for your body.
That's great. It speaks to your point about enrolling the family and getting their feedback too, so you know that they're happy with it because they're part of the decision making.
Yeah.
Something else came through about French fries. You were saying that that's one of your favorites. So someone gave a comment about using the air fryer for French fries. And then there was also a question just about potatoes and healthy foods. So I guess there might be some clarification to be made about where potatoes fit in the healthy foods listing.
Okay, so where potatoes fit in is, I know on the slide it said potatoes don't count. They don't count as your vegetable because it's like a starch. So you want to use it as a starch, right where it would go, because you could easily have a meal and you could have mashed potatoes and then also have vegetables on the side. So it can actually be like a substitute. So you don't want to say, oh, I'm having vegetable, but I'm having potato. So potato is fine. You can have the potato, but don't try to eat it as your vegetable. As your vegetable, you want to have leafy greens and all those different things. So don't just don't try to use it as your vegetable. That's the main thing.
Thank you for making that clarification. The plate spoke about sort of the proportion of the different things. So there's room for potatoes, of course. It falls within the starchy group. And there's room for all the kinds of things that we've been talking about, these quote unquote unhealthy foods, or these things that we want to say that it's best to eat some of them, but not as the biggest proportion of your plate.
Yeah.
Tarsha, I think you spoke a little bit about sugar alternatives. Can you clarify what that's all about, the health differences, why we're saying the typical, you know, domino sugar is not what we want to do, in maybe speaking to coconut, cane, brown, some of these kinds of things?
Right. Okay, so as long as no one tells my mom, she actually works for Domino Sugar.
Our lips are sealed.
But um, you can use cane sugar, which is like the turbinado raw sugar. So it's brown, which is, you know, sugar's actual color. So that would be great to use. When you want to use a sugar alternative, you want to go for the natural, for a natural sweetener. Okay, so you have agave, you have stevia, you also have date sugar, coconut sugar. Like they have so many different ones, but you just want to stay over towards the natural realm instead of using like artificial sweeteners like I think it's like Sweet and Low and Equal, and you want to kind of try to steer away from those things because it tells you that it's an artificial sweetener. Okay, so that means we don't know what it's really made up of. But if we stay on the other side, at least we know what the ingredients are.
That seems like that's back to the processing a bit, even though all the
Yep.
sugars are processed to some extent, but maybe processing from a known natural source as opposed
Right.
to something that's more created.
Yeah.
Just another comment about the air fryer and all of its wonder. French fries, chicken, someone else mentioned cooking veggies, like a crispy veggies in the air fryer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One question that we got was just about if we aren't able to do our own baking, what might be ways that we can buy pre-made sweets, but that are better?
So if you can't do your own baking, if you have a local bakery nearby, because they will have made most of those things fresh that day. So that would be your alternative. If you can go to, I would advocate for a local bakery instead of going to like the supermarket, even though they have bakeries, but I don't know if they make them every day. But at your local bakery, you know, more than likely they make them every day. So you can get fresh bagels, fresh rolls, fresh, you know, all the things are more fresh when you go to a local bakery.
In the process, the information about processed food you gave before, the notion that things are processed to last for a lot longer makes
Yep.
them we're more leery of that. So your point is if you have something that maybe has a lesser shelf life, then it might have more natural ingredients and not have so many processed synthetic things in it.
Exactly.
I know I also heard you use the notion of making a smaller portion. So it seems like that might be another thing to apply here if they buy it, but just buy a maybe single serving size or eat a slice of the thing that's bought as opposed to the whole big one. That might be another way to
Right. And it's also, you know what, it's also a good way to share. It's an excellent way to share. Like you can buy a bagel, but you can eat one half and then let your child eat the other half, and then you can combine it with a tea. Like there's so many different options. And then that's how we get into a little bit of trouble, is because we don't know what the actual serving size is, and so then we tend to automatically overeat the serving size because we don't know. And what you have to know is everything that they make up, the calories, the sugar, the fat, everything is based on that serving size. So when you go over that serving size, then that means you've had double the calories, double the sugar, double the fat, double the sodium. So that may be something that you may want to start looking at also, is if you look on the back and see actually what the serving size is, and then you'll know like, oh, wow, okay, I may only need to have this much because, you know, this would take me over the amount of calories or fat that I want to have.
Great. There was a question about healthier options, I think in baking or maybe all kinds of foods. Gluten-free and vegan are terminologies that are used. And can you speak to this a little bit? Like, are those healthier?
Healthier regarding, well, it's healthier regarding what your body needs or requires. I won't say, I'm not going to automatically say, oh, well, if it's gluten-free, it's absolutely more healthier than something else, because it may just be according to your body why you need to have that. And then as far as vegan, if you don't want to have meat or if you don't want to have dairy, then I think that's more of an option. Some things that are vegan are made from more natural ingredients, but sometimes they're not. because sometimes they want to make it still taste like it is the meat, or taste like it still has the dairy or the cheese in it. And so sometimes the things that they have to add, it's like, I might as well just add the burger.
Great, thank you for that. I want to remind all participants too, please, anyone who had their hand raised, if you have a specific question, just enter it into the chat box so we can make sure that we respond to the question that you had. A few more coming in. A question about how much sugar is too much. The question was specifically around, like, if we use cereal as a dessert, how much is too much?
So what I would do is I would definitely go back to the serving size. Usually on the back of cereal, I think it says 2/3 of a cup is a serving. And usually if you have just 2/3 of a cup, depending on if it's not like a high in sugar cereal, it's usually only about 8 or 9 grams. But just to be mindful of the sugar that you're consuming on a daily basis, for a woman, you should not consume more than, you should not consume more than 24 grams per day. Okay, so you should not consume more than 24 grams per day. And if you are a male, you should stay within 28, 32 being the max. So that's the grams per day that you should have. Okay, not per meal, but per day. And just to give you, I guess, just a mindset of what that would look like, if you happen to have a Snapple, most of the Snapples have 45 grams of sugar in the bottle. So if you had one Snapple, you would have 2 days worth of sugar if you were a female.
Half your weight per comment about drinking half your weight keeps you slim. This might be half your weight in water. Someone asked, or someone put in the chat box.
Yes, it is a good idea to absolutely drink half your body weight in ounces per day. So for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, if you are drinking 75 ounces of water per day, that is excellent.
We had some specific questions about, well, one specific ingredient, cooking chickpeas, and maybe any tips that you have there. And then another one just about oven fried meats as an alternative to, I guess, maybe deep frying. Can you speak to those two things?
Okay, so for the chickpeas, of course you can make so many different things. You can make hummus, you can use chickpeas to make veggie burgers. So yeah, you can prepare those in a lot of different ways, and that is a healthy protein for you. And as far as your meats, you can definitely put them in the broiler so that they'll have, broiling is meant to be crunchy on the outside, but still tender in the inside. So if you want to prepare your meats that way, you absolutely can. And you can also prepare them in the oven. So if you prepare your meats in the oven, you may want to add some carrots and onion and different things like that, so that when it comes out, you can also add some potato. So when it comes out, it's a complete meal. So you already have everything already in one pan, and you can just eat from there.
Great. Another question was about vegetables and like digestive disturbance, like if it gives you gas or makes your tummy hurt or something like that. If there any guidance, as we're recommending folks eat more vegetables, just how they might transition best to that.
Okay, so the best thing that you can do for that is you would have to be a conscious vegetable eater. So be conscious and then only eat one vegetable at a time to find out which one gives you the gas. And then when you find out which one gives you gas or makes you bloated, then you stay away from that one.
Sounds like a great thing to keep in mind for any kinds of eating, sort of conscious, paying attention to what the response is with how you're eating.
Right.
We talked a good amount about sweet foods. Any recommendation when salt is what people are craving, and how to sort of manage that so it's not in excess?
Well, when you're craving salt, that's a tough one because you're just like, I just want something salty. So like I said, if I want something like that, I go to the tortilla chips because they're a little bit salty, and I go with the salsa as well because it's a little acidic. So they kind of balance each other out, and that kind of cures my salt thing. I mean, that's what works for me. I can't say what may work for you, but when you want to have something salty, sometimes you can just get, I know this may sound a little nasty, but it's not. But sometimes, even if you're having a salad and you take a little bit of sea salt and just sprinkle it on the top, just a little, not a lot, just a little bit, it will get rid of that craving right away. But just a little bit.
Great. So eating the healthy stuff and just adding a little bit of what you desire.
Yeah.
We'll answer just a few more questions and then bring the presentation to a close. I wanted to please make sure that you give us feedback from this presentation. The survey where we can accept feedback, I just posted into the chat box, and you will get it as a follow-up to this presentation as well in an email. But we just have 2 more questions that I see right now. We spoke a lot about air frying. Is that okay to do every day?
I wouldn't do it every day. I wouldn't do it every day because it is a good alternative to frying, but it's not something that you should do every day, just like you shouldn't fry every day. So I wouldn't do it, because sometimes when we think that we're eating something healthier and in a healthier way, then we want to have more of it all the time. And then that cancels out what we're actually trying to do.
Okay. Any other comments you guys have with raised hands, please just put them in the chat box so we can respond to any of those. And the last thing that I did get as a question was about things that we can do at home, maybe herbs or other kinds of plants that we might be able to use I guess grow at home, that would help in seasoning and helping our meals to be more healthy.
Yeah, you can easily YouTube like a windowsill garden, and it shows you how to grow like different herbs and things like that right from your windowsill. So you can definitely look that up. And just remember, everything in moderation. Be gentle with yourself. Do what you can, and use this time to be creative. Use this time to, if you do have some habits that you're like, okay, I need to stop that, use this time to develop new habits. And you can be so creative in the things that you can do where eating is concerned, that it's limitless. So just, put yourself out there, get out there and try some different things.
That's great feedback. One last one, and then we'll bring this to a close. Came through in the comments in the chat box, using crock pots for meals. If you have any recommendation for that?
Yes, I would definitely use a crock pot for a meal, because it's something that you can set up and then leave it alone. What the main way that I do it is, sometimes, well, when we were going out to work, you would set it up in the morning, put it on, so that way by the time you come back, dinner's already done. So that's a great way to do meals, and to do meals pretty healthy, because you're just putting broth or water in the crock pot. So you're not putting, a lot of other things.
Great. Thank you so much, Tarsha. Thank you all for the participants who've been on the line. We'll follow up with an email that has the slides and a recording of this presentation. And of course, you can stay in touch with Workwell NYC via email, workwell@olr.nyc.gov, or our webpage. So thank you for your participation. If other questions come up, do email them to us or stay in touch with the Slack page as well. Thank you again. Thank you, Tarsha.
You're welcome.
And we'll, until next time. Bye-bye now.
Everyone.